What's up, everyone? Welcome into Boxing Scene today. And here at Probox TV, we listen to our fans. You guys wanted these shows, so the shows are back. I'm here, Chris Algeria, and I'm joined by Hall of Fame trainer and busiest man in boxing, Robert Garcia. We're all moving around. Robert is you're all every time I talk to you, you're in a different place, and I'm stuck here in South Florida just sweating. But we're going to be in the same place this weekend because we got the big Xander Zayas Boots Ennis fight. How's it going, Coach?
It's been going great. New York's always fun. We had the chance to watch the soccer game last night, so it was fun. It was great. Great being here in New York. Great experience, and all the people are very friendly. I'm loving it.
I love I know this is a boxing show, everyone. I know, but we got to give some love to FIFA soccer every World Cup, each and every show. I got to look at the comments to see if you guys dislike that. But listen, it's an exciting time. We're all having fun watching it. You're in New York City, which is a hub right now for the games. I'm looking forward to going up there this weekend and getting to see feel the vibes. But I know you're not close to Brooklyn. You're more in Manhattan right now, but we're right on the cusp of the Xander Zayas and Boots Ennis fight. There was a good article on Boxing Scene where they were talking about this is a very calculated move by Xander Zayas, and I believe his career has been moved very, very smartly in terms of how he's been able to develop very, very young, 23 years of age, and a unified champion in one of the toughest weight classes in the world today. There was a lot of talk with your fighter Virgil Ortiz to fight Boots Ennis, and there was some troubles outside of the ring that were keeping the fight from happening, both guys going back and forth, and Xander swoops right in and jumps into that position and takes a fight that he really didn't need to take. And we've given him his props for being that guy who's making the best fights in the world. And he says that, acts like that, does what you want your champions to do. Robert, what's your thought about this in terms of Xander Zayas making a very calculated decision, but really, I mean, he's in a really good place. When he beats one of the most avoided and best guys in the sport. If he loses admirably, you look at it and like, hey man, he took this guy on super young. He's in this weight class. He's in a bit of a lose situation.
Look, I love it. I love what he's doing. I love the mentality he has, the belief in himself, his team, everything. Everybody that's behind him. I really respect it because there's no young champion that makes those decisions. They normally make let the team make it, and I'm pretty sure it was him because if it was up to the team, they would have taken him a little bit slower. Pick the right opponents for his first title defense back home. They went into a unification right away, against another champion. Right after that, he goes into Boots. He sees that the fight with Virgil and Boots might not happen. He jumps in. That says a lot about this kid, man. I got nothing but respect. Got to respect his decisions. And when you have somebody with that belief in himself and that and the heart to take those challenges, you can count him out. You cannot count him out. I really believe that he has a great chance of pulling this off.
Yeah, and you brought up a great point. Number one, I've been around Xander as his development on top rank undercards and being in fighter meetings with him. I've been in the gym with him. I've sparred with him. I'm down here in South Florida. I know all the guys that he's working with. I'll tell you this fight's happening because of him. He believes in his ability, and yeah, his team around him. I'm not going to say this, speak for them, but yeah, they probably could have went a different route. But no, Xander wanted these kind of fights. He was calling out Fundora 3 years ago before he even won his first title. He said, I can beat all of these guys. So to your point, 100%, he has that self belief. He is the guy, the driving force of this, and that's how you want your champions to act. He has an incredible amount of maturity for a 23-year-old. And you brought up another point with someone with that kind of self-belief. Listen, he's a big underdog. Last I checked, my notes are saying minus 550, which is even more than the last I saw. Last I saw was 480. Earlier last week, it was like 430. But he is a big underdog, but also a very live underdog. And I agree with you. I'm leaning towards Boots, but I could certainly see how Xander and his style could give Boots a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I do lean towards Boots because he's just very talented. He's shown the boxing world that he is one of the best in the division, and not only in the division, pound for pound, he could be one of the best out there. But look, we also have to understand that a young fighter like Sayas, who is willing to take those chances, that means he's got the heart of a warrior. He's got the heart of a lion that's gonna go in there and do whatever it takes to win the fight. And those are dangerous fighters against somebody that is very very talented. But in reality, I don't think Boots has ever been tested to the position where he's got somebody on top of him throwing punches, not getting tired. and taking his punches too, because that's very important too. Obviously, Zayas feels sure about himself, but Boots also has great power, so Boots could land and hurt him and finish the fight. But Sayas doesn't believe that, and those fighters that are gonna keep coming, taking you punch, you might look good the first 4, 5, 6 rounds, but the remaining of the fight could be trouble, and that's what I'm actually looking forward to. I'm actually looking forward to a fight that goes late rounds, and Sayas is a stronger man towards the end of the round. So that's what I'm kind of looking forward to. I'm excited if that's the way it goes, because it could also go, where Boots is just so much better that could make it a fight where he finishes early, or he continues to win the fight to the distance but dominates completely. It could be both ways, but I feel like it could go late rounds, and those late rounds could favor Sayas.
Yeah, you're saying a lot of things that I've been thinking about when this fight first got announced. This is one of those fights. Like on paper, honestly, I look at it this like, yeah, no, Xander can win this fight and very well may because of the way they match up. Xander is long. He's got a good jab, a consistent jab. He throws combinations on the inside. He knows what he is and he knows what he isn't. He knows he's not a puncher, so he throws combinations. He's in fantastic shape. He's got good legs. He moves around the ring really well, and those are things that we've seen Boots struggle with. Guys with good footwork, guys who are on the move. Boots doesn't close that distance very deceptively. His jab is more of a rangefinder. But it's all about the intangibles in this fight. Boots is one of those guys that, and I'm gonna lean on you for this myself also. He's a difficult guy to prepare for, because I thought about that with Manny Pacquiao. The hardest part about fighting Manny Pacquiao is preparing for Manny Pacquiao. How do you find sparring partners like that? How do you deal with a guy who literally doesn't do things right by the textbook, but still makes it work? It has incredible speed and power. It's extremely difficult to prepare for a guy like Boots Ennis. And that's what I think, that's where the intangibles come in. And I agree with you 100%. Yeah, honestly, Boots could go out there and stop him early. Boots could stop him late. Boots could win a decision. But on paper, Xander's a real live dog.
Yes, look, with guys like Boots or Manny Pacquiao, like you said, it's tough to prepare for them because of their styles. Obviously, with Boots, he switches. He could fight righty, he could fight lefty. He could do everything. He's got speed. He's got angles. He's got everything. So it's difficult. But when you have a fighter like Sayas, or like we've seen before, we've seen upsets where they bring in a Mexican from Guadalajara and beats the superstar that nobody expected that to happen. It's happened before. We've seen it before. I think when you have a fighter that has the mentality like Sayas, there's no need to have the perfect sparring partner. There's no need to have the perfect game plan, because when the bell rings, that's when the game plan starts. You got to go out there, don't respect him, let him shine the first few rounds, let him do whatever he wants. If you don't respect him, if you don't give him any momentum where he feels he's the guy that's going to dominate, then that's when you have a chance. I think those type of styles, those type of fights, you win by heart and your head, your mentality, where you're positive about it, not because you had a good game plan or you had a good sparring partner to beat him. I think it's going to be his heart and his and obviously he's got to be smart also in the ring, but his heart is could make the big difference. And those type of fights, we've seen it plenty times where the favorite guy gets beat because the other guy had just had a bigger heart and had no losing in him.
Yeah, they got a great quote here from Zayas. He said, "I've got 12 rounds to work. Once that happens, I take over," which goes with everything you're saying about a guy like Zayas with a ton of heart, a good gas tank, and self-belief. So I'm getting more excited as we get close to this fight. I really want to see what these guys look like at the weigh-in, because this is a really weighty issue for both these guys. Xander's huge for 154. So is Boots, but this is only Boots' second fight here. Xander's been here for a bit. I don't know, win, lose, or draw. I'm not sure we see Xander at 54 after this. I want to see what these guys look like at the weigh-in. I remember watching Boots at 47 and seeing him fight week and being like, ooh, this guy does not look good. He looks like he's really struggling to make the weight. And sure enough, those last couple fights, aside from the Stanionis fight, he struggled with a guy like Karen Chukadzian. And then with Xander, he's so young, he's still growing. 23 years old. I mean, have you been around him physically, Coach, in the offseason? He's a
Not
big
lately,
guy.
but you look. I have been around him. He's big, but
Big.
not for this camp. But we were, the fights we had, the fights we worked together over there in Dallas.
Hmm.
His teammate, Kid Kansas fought
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
on
Yep.
that card.
Allen.
And as soon as he stepped into the ring, I seen that kid's body. He looked ripped. His shoulders were wide.
Yep.
His chest was big. And right away, I told Ernesto Amador, I said, look, one thing that I right away I seen is he's got the same team that Zayas has. So I can only expect, I can only see what we're gonna see with Xander Zayas walking into the ring. I'm pretty sure if we see that with his teammate who trained with him, who prepared with him, then Zayas is gonna be big, solid, ripped. So it's gonna be kind of scary to see Zayas. I'm pretty sure he's gonna look sensational,
Yeah.
and with his body's gonna look really good.
Big shout out to I believe
Yes,
Perfecting Athletes. Also, Mike Basil's in the corner helps with
yes,
the weight cuts for both those guys. I talked to Mike. I'm sure you did as well for the Kid Kansas fight over in Dallas when we had. So and also they're in Sweatbox. Sweatbox down here with Javier Centeno. I mean we're down here in South Florida. The South Florida Heat definitely helps when it comes to making weight. But those
right.
guys train really hard. There's a bunch of studs together. Really exciting fight. Good stuff. I can't wait for this weekend. It's one of those fights that even you're making it out. So it's
Right.
a big deal. But how about this one? So we got another article here on unboxing scene, and this I saw this coming a mile away. Richardson Hitchens is eyeing an IBF 147-pound title fight. His manager Keith Connolly said within the next year he will be fighting for a world title. He's a former IBF champion at 140. And guess what? He beat Liam Parrow at 140 to win the 140-pound title. Now, Liam Parrow just picked up yesterday, literally, the 147-pound IBF strap. So now, of course, Richardson Hitchens is like, oh, I already beat this guy, and I'm number 4 ranked in the IBF, so let's make this fight happen. The caveat is he signed with Zuffa. He had given up the IBF belt, had moved up in weight, and there has been this history that Zuffa does not want to deal with the sanctioning bodies. They don't want their guys being champions in the old guard, the old governing bodies. But Keith Connolly, a manager we were just speaking about off air, affirms that no. Part of their deal is that his guys, one being Richardson Hitchens, also Conor Benn is another one of another fighter who is managed by Keith Connolly. Said no, we're going to be able to fight for those belts. And watch, within 1 year, Richardson Hitchens will be fighting for a known governing body belt like IBF, WBC, WBA, WBO, the belts that we all know of. What are your thoughts on that, Robert?
Look, I kind of agree, with Keith. I think it's just a matter of time. I think Sufa, the shows they're doing with the young prospects, I think they're doing a great job. The kids are happy. They're paying them good. The fights are very exciting. They're pretty close fights. All fights are pretty very close. So you can't really pick the winner. But when it comes to like the bigger stars, the bigger names, Connor is if he fights Ryan, it's got to be for the WBC title.
Gotta be.
Hitchens, if he moves up to fight Power for the IBF, then it's got to be for the IBF. I think slowly we're gonna start seeing that move where fighters do fight for the world title, especially if Sufa, Dana White, they're working together with Turkey. Those fights, the ring cards, the fights in Saudi, those are all fights that they use the belts. They have the WBC, they have the IBF. So I think it is something that's going to happen. And like Keith is saying, you guys are going to see it because he's got the fighters, and I'm pretty sure they have contracts, and it's all over the country where the fighters could fight for the belts. I don't know. I'm gonna bring this up. I don't know if you guys remember when PBC first started. They also wanted to bring their own belt, and they wanted to erase the rest of the belts. I remember a few title fights where they didn't even allow the fighters to carry their ring, their WBC, IBF, WBA, whatever belt it was. They wouldn't allow them to carry it into the ring. They didn't. PBC did not want any champion to show their belt during their fight, even though they were defending. They were not showing the belts. And I don't know if you remember that,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Of
Chris,
course.
but that's true. We were talking about all this Sufa and all this stuff with my brother Mikey, and Mikey says, "Well, look, this is they can't do it, but eventually they're gonna be using all the belts because." Don't forget what PPC was doing, and I remember that, and it's true. They were not allowing fighters to walk into the fight carrying their belts that they were defending because they were not going to use those belts. They wanted to start their own belt. So everybody has to know that little by little things go to normal, and we're all gonna have fun. We're all gonna have fighters, keeping our fighters active, keeping them busy, and make everybody work together. I think that's the best thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a hypothetical question, but you already answered it. I was going to ask you, do you see this as, like, or we're just going to have another governing body now, another organization, another promotion? Because I remember, just like you said, those PBC fights. I was on a lot of those early PBC fights after about the first year. I fought Amir Khan on there. I fought Errol Spence. I fought Eric Bonet on there, on a lot of those cards. And even then, within the first year, belts started to reappear. The WBC, so I fought for the WBC silver belt when I fought Amir Khan. So those belts did come back relatively quickly. So I was going to ask you, do you think with Zuffa, like, is it just going to fall to the same idea where, they're going to come in and try and take over, realize it's a much more difficult opposition than they maybe had expected, and then kind of fall into line with everyone else and just be another organization?
Look, I think right now with all the top stars that they're signing, world champions that they're signing, and big fights that they could make with fighters that might not be signed to Zufa, but they could still make those fights. They have to work like that. They have to work where the titles are being defended, where the fighters are challenging for the world titles, because they're being forced. I think what they want to do, like what they're doing with Sufa, with the younger fighters, the younger generations who are signing with them and are happy with them and excited to fight for them. I think that's a 10-year process where all these young fighters know that they might never fight for a world title. But the world champions now, the fighters that are already top rated in the world, they need to fight for the belts. And I think in the meantime, Sufa has to allow that. Maybe a long term process of 10 years, maybe it could work where they only keep their belt and their fighters because they have the younger generation signing with them to really good deals. They might be able to pull it off, but not now. I don't think now is the right time because all these top stars need to defend their titles and they want to defend their titles.
Yeah, in boxing, 10 years might as well be 100 years. A lot happens in 10 years, especially with the way
Yeah.
things are moving now with streaming networks. And listen, 10 years ago we had HBO. Like, we don't have that anymore. The sport turns over very, very rapidly. So yeah, I agree with that. It's very possible. Maybe in 10 years we're looking at a different landscape. I hate talking about fights where guys are circling each other and don't actually make the fight happen. Where we have to talk about it time and time again. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but the Ryan Garcia Conor Benn situation, which we've talked about a lot. Well, we'll say this: we do have a new caveat. Keith Connolly, again, we're mentioning Keith. He is the manager of Conor Benn. Says, listen, from their side, they're signed. They're ready to go. And Benn will be able to fight for the WBC title. It's just for whatever Ryan has to deal with on his side, which could be the network, which could be his promoter. Have you heard anything, Robert? Since I have you here, you're on that side of
Look,
of the country with
all,
Ryan.
all we've heard from Ryan is he is fighting Conor. He is fighting him September 12th, if I'm not mistaken, in Vegas. So I don't know what's the holdup. I don't know if they're still. Keith says on their part it's signed, everything's done. So that means Ryan's the only one. But if Ryan has also brought up and said that he's fighting Conor, that it's a done deal, well then I think maybe just little issues maybe with the promoter. I really don't know, but hopefully we get that fight because it's a good fight. I'm excited about the fight. Plus, we've also been told that maybe one or two of our guys in the gym might be in that card. So obviously that would that makes me a little more motivated for the fight to happen. So hopefully Ryan, if it's only up to Ryan, hopefully they get it done soon because it's an exciting fight, especially in Vegas. If it does happen in Vegas, it's big. It's big time. Ryan in Vegas is always going to be a big fight.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement here. We all love the fight. I'm just saying that we talk about a fight that a lot that may not occur, and there's obviously some loopholes, but you're hearing some things. But one thing I think the real hold up here, I'm going to quote Oscar De La Hoya, who is the promoter of Golden Boy Promotions, who promotes Ryan Garcia, says Zuffa is an established promoter. Warren De La Hoya was blunt. And he said everything they touch, it's a big problem all the time. So that kind of gives you the idea, like, all right, the hold up there, obviously, if we are believing what we're being told, Keith Connolly said that Conor Benn is signed and we're good to go, and the issue is on that side. The holdup could be Oscar De La Hoya and his thoughts upon Zuffa, but hopefully they can come to some kind of agreement, make this fight happen, because just
I
like you
think
said, great fight.
when it comes to that, I think obviously Oscar's a top promoter, one of the biggest in the world, and he might want a little more say in the promotion, a little more involvement. Maybe Sufa just wants to do everything themselves, and yeah, you bring Ryan, but you sit down ringside, and that's all you're gonna do, and that's probably what Oscar doesn't want and doesn't like, because obviously he is a top promoter. He is one of the best in the world when it comes to the promotions. So maybe that's the holdup. But at the end, it's the fighter. Maybe one of his biggest purses. You can't hold him from having that. If it's just that problem, it has to be solved. And Ryan has to tell Oscar, look, we have to do it. You have to agree. You're my promoter, but if it's gonna be all Sufa, then we got to allow Sufa to do the whole show. We're just gonna show up, and Oscar gets his cut. Oscar will be happy. I think that's what needs to happen. Ryan needs to tell Oscar that this is the way it has to happen. If that's the only holdup, because I could be wrong. I don't know if there's any other legal issues, stuff that needs to be resolved. But if that's the only holdup, it's something that should be solved like now.
I always say, in the real world, money makes enemies of friends. But in the boxing world, money makes friends of enemies. So if there's enough money in the pot,
It's true.
I think that we can make this fight happen. And there should be plenty of money to go around. And I believe
There is.
Oscar wants his guys to fight the best fights possible of where he can make the most money. And that's probably the most lucrative and winnable fight for Ryan Garcia. But on to talking about other fights that we talk a lot about that end up not happening. Tank Davis is back, and he's reemerged on social media. And when Tank is tweeting or Xing, that he's getting moving again. We have seen him that he has been training. He looks to be in fantastic shape. But there's a little caveat here. Changing trainers, and I have the trainer of the year multiple time here, Robert Garcia, with me, and we're talking about Tank Davis going away from his old trainer in what's his old trainer's name? Calvin Ford. Excuse me, Calvin. Sorry. Calvin Ford, who's been with for a very long time, moving to David Benavidez Sr. This is a really Jose Benavidez Sr. A really interesting little caveat to this. How do you see Tank Davis with what he brings to the table, working with a trainer like Benavidez Sr.? Apparently, they've been spotted down here in South Florida, getting some work in. So, really interesting little caveat to this Tank situation.
Well, look, what I think is, Ford always did a great job with Tank. Tank is one of the best fighters in the world. He sells out any arena he steps into the ring. He gives us pretty exciting fights too. So I think with Tank, it's not about him needing a trainer that's going to teach him new things. I think he needs new motivation. I think his camps, his training camps, and with Ford, his behavior outside of the ring, might have been the cause where he needs to move. He needs to change something new, something different. And look, with Benavides, we all see David Benavides fights. That boy doesn't get tired. That boy keeps throwing punches. That boy has gas in his tank for 15 rounds. I remember him coming to my gym and sparring 20 rounds. We had to line up the guys. The guys wouldn't last more than 3 rounds, so we had to have 5 or 6 guys for him to be able to get his 15 rounds in. He's just that tough, that condition.
He was
And I
sparring
think
Kelly
that
Pavlik back then, right?
yeah, he
It
did.
was
Yes, he
Kelly, yeah.
did. Yes, and he was only like 14 or 15 years old. So that kid, I think that's probably the main reason Tank is probably moving that direction, because I think camps will be more serious. I think Benavides and his son now, because Jose is part of the camps now. I think they're both gonna motivate him good. They're both gonna push him. And then if he's training next to David, I think David's gonna be a lot of help where it comes to, no, let's go. We got to go. We got to continue. We got to finish an extra mile. If you have to run an extra mile, or we have to do those extra 3 rounds. If you don't want to do them, you're going to be forced to do them. I think that's the main, that's going to help Tank a lot. I think he needed a change, especially with all his personal problems, personal issues. He needs a new location, a new place for him to prepare. That I agree. I believe that it's a good change, a good move, a good team, because they already have a superstar that trains his ass off and is not going to be lacking or trying to cheat or anything like that. So I believe it's a good move.
Hey, I mean, I was in camp when you had Kelly over there in Oxnard. And I remember you had 3 or 4 guys lined up for him. So the fact that you had to line up guys for David at 14, that speaks worlds to him. And we see, the proof is in the pudding. We see what David brings to the table. You brought up something, though, that really makes me think. Because David Benavidez himself was a guy who had some out of the ring issues earlier in his career and has really righted the ship and has really matured and has grown into a budding superstar. So maybe that's something that they were looking at with Tanks. Again, he has these out of the ring problems. He doesn't have problems training. He's always in shape, especially this part of his career. He shows up on fight night and he does what he needs to do. Maybe that is what is really needed. A little bit of a mindset shift for Tank Davis, so we can see him back to the top of the sport. Because I've been to Tank fights, he sells, man, and the crowd is so behind him. That last fight when he fought Lamont Roach in the Barclays in Brooklyn, I've been to so many fights in the Barclays. I've been the main event of Barclays 4 times. I've never seen it like that. I mean, they said they made a gate record for any sport. That's wild to think about. For any event, that was the gate record was for Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach. I mean, that crowd was out of control. So boxing needs those guys. Boxing needs those fighters to be back. We need Tank Davis to be fighting. We need him back. And I think, yeah, I agree. You've swayed me. I think this is actually going to be a good thing. And we've seen him and Devin have been going back and forth on social medias. And David posted, I'm going for Big Nose. Let's get it on. Apparently talking about Devin Haney. And then Devin Haney came back and said, I think Gervonta grew some balls. His team reached out. We might just end up fighting. So we got a new player in the mix with Devin Haney, because we're waiting for Devin Haney to fight, right? We talked about him with Rollies. We talked about him with Shakur, all these different talks. But, man, a Tank Haney fight? That's a awesome, scintillating fight.
No, it's a fight. It'll be a great fight. It'll be a great
build up,
promotion, build up into the fight. And honestly, it's a tough one to pick. It's a tough fight to pick, man. It's so interesting that I got to do my studying both and see which side I take, because it's gonna be a tough one.
Yeah, that's very interesting clash of styles, because you got Devin, who he's not as busy as he's gotten heavier, but he's got such a good jab, and he controls distance really well, and he's really good on the outside and controlling a fight, and even slowing it down to where it's all right, we're just matching IQ. But that's what Tank likes. He likes a slow pace. He likes to think and set things up. And I think Tank has I think he holds the record for the lowest punch output, but the highest knockout rate percentage, which shows you the precision and the power and the way he sets things up. And I think a lot of people look past his actual boxing IQ. He sets up the power. He sets up the shot. He takes his time. He's very cautious on defense early on. He finds his holes, and then he gets it done. He detonates. So very interesting matchup where boxing IQs are going to be matched in very different styles.
Tank is one of the few fighters that knows which punch to throw and which punch is gonna do the damage. Most of the fighters do their knockouts, but it's not like they planned it out, or they just landed and knocked his opponent out. But Tank is one of the few. There's very few fighters that could do that know that know when they're gonna land and what punch is gonna be the one that does the damage. And
the guys who get the walk-off KOs that know it's done.
He's one. He's one of them, and that's why you can't count him out. It doesn't matter. He might be a slow starter. He might give away the first 5 or 6 rounds because he starts slow, but he's actually working. He's not just being lazy, losing those rounds. He's working. He's figuring out his opponents, and then he gets the work done. That's just the way Tank is. If he's mentally, if he's very well prepared, if he's very well focused in training camp, he's a very dangerous man.
Yeah, I was worried we weren't going to see Tank again, but I'm happy that they're swirling. He has resurfaced, and I think there's a lot to say about him switching camps and getting out of being comfortable. I think he was comfortable for a very long time. No knock on Calvin Ford. He did amazing work together, but getting him out of that comfort zone, like you said, training next to a guy like David Benavidez, being with Jose Senior and Junior in the camp, I think is going to be beneficial. I'm looking forward. Hopefully this Haney fight, because man, we need Haney to fight. We need our champions to be active, and Haney, there hasn't been a whole lot of talk about who could be next. But all right, my favorite story of the week, one I've been saving the best for the last, Inoue. Whenever we talk with this guy, the world moves, man. He's got his own orbit. You bring him up, and the likes and the numbers, the views, everything pops off. And Bam is quickly becoming just like that as well. Your fighter, who is just a phenomenal, consistent champion who is just overachieving each and every time. So Inoue's promoter teases a February showdown, saying he's got a really big news, and looks and says, you know what that means. And I got the guy right here. I got the guy who trains Bam. So I mean, what are we hearing, Robert? Whatever you can tell, what's going on.
Look, I read that too, and I made a phone call to Mr. Honda, and even Mr. Honda said, "Look, Robert, there's also talk about a summer huge 80,000 or 100,000 arena where it could be bigger, the biggest boxing event in Japan. So we don't know. So we don't know if the big event in February is that big to for it to be banned because we haven't they haven't asked us anything. At least myself, I'm gonna see Eddie hopefully tomorrow, the day of the fight. I'll see Eddie and maybe get a few words with him to see what he knows. But as of right now, nobody has contacted me about Bam's fight versus Inoue in February. Never, nobody has. But they did mention a bigger event in the summer at an arena that holds 80 to 100,000 people. So we don't know. So honestly, we don't know if the big fight February is Bam, and then maybe they got something bigger, maybe moving up in weight to featherweight for the summer. I don't know. They haven't really brought it up, but we're waiting. We're waiting. I know Eddie already mentioned in an interview, and that's why I also need to talk to him about Bam coming back sometime in October or November against Chispa Medina, which is what we always wanted. We always ask for before we get into the big fight with Inui, and the date doesn't have to change. It could still be end of February if they do it. If we fight in October or early November, then we could still prepare for a Nui fight in February. So it's not like we're asking for the date to change. But as of right now, I did read that also from his manager, from Inui's manager, but no, I haven't heard. Nobody's told me anything. Nobody's called me, so we don't know if it's gonna be Bam or something bigger, and then Bam in the summer, or Bam now in February, and then maybe a featherweight fight in the summer for Inui. I really don't know. So hopefully we'll know something in the next couple of days. I'm here in New York. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have a few words with Eddie Hearn and see where all this goes.
Yeah, just to make things absolutely clear, so it is Hideyoka Ohashi, who is the founder of Ohashi Promotions and the promoter of Junior Featherweight King in Iowa. Anyway, he said a big fight coming up next February, and I'm sure you can guess which one was the caveat that got
Yeah,
everybody kind of thinking, like, ooh, is that banned? But listen, every fight that Inoue fights is a big one, and
right,
potentially maybe this is actually good for you. You have more time to get that fight in, maybe even
right,
another fight before you have maybe some kind of big blockbuster down the road
correct.
with Nia. Anyway, so we're all holding on for hope that this fight happens. But I see that your side, at the very least, is doing everything you can to be available, to stick to your guns, but also like, hey, we're available. We want this fight just as much as anybody else. So that's a good sign for everybody at home who might be, thinking this
No, we're
this fight might
ready.
get away.
We're
Yeah.
ready for the fight. We're gonna take the fight. The fight's not going on where we are. I'm just asking for one fight before that, which we still got like 7 months, 7 to 8 months, anyways. So we got plenty of room for Bam to get a fight somewhere in October or November.
And just for everyone at home, Bam is a gym rat. No, he
Yes,
whatever you tell him, bring him back because you warned us even before the fight. You're like, I'm gonna bring him back real quick, get him a little bit of time off because we want to fight in October before we even discuss an in a way fight.
yes.
So sticking to your guns, I love it. But everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your comments from last week, last episode. Excuse me. We're gonna go to your favorite time where we actually pick out some of the best comments from last time's show and bring them out on the air. So let's see what we got up first. So, Paul Fairburn 5065. What do you think about Fundora versus the winner of Zayas and Boots? I mean, listen, it makes a lot of sense, but also we got Virgil Ortiz who's looming and around still at 154. So there's a lot of really good fights for the winner of this fight. I don't know. I'm this might be just conjecture or me just reaching, but I feel like if Zayas wins this fight, win, lose, or draw, I think he's going to move up. I think he's going to go up to 60. So it still leaves an opportunity for Fundora to fight either one of these guys, regardless of the outcome. But then there's always Virgil looming. As soon as Virgil gets back in the mix, I mean, I don't got to tell you, Coach. I know how Virgil operates. He wants the biggest fights possible. So, what's your take on
Well,
on
look.
Fundora in this mix?
Well, look. Virgil will be back in the mix soon. Things are looking very well. I actually had a call this morning, and things are looking really good. So people are gonna know something pretty soon. I think Fundora, the way his career has been going since he became champion, he's getting better and better, man. This kid is great. He's a great person, great family also. So you can't wish him bad. But we do have those fights in there. Virgil is in that division. the winner of both Zayas. I agree with you. I think Zayas does move up in weight because he's big. He's big enough to compete at 160. But win or lose, it doesn't matter if Zayas beats Boots or if Boots beats Zayas. Fundora can fight either one. Even the guy that loses, it's not like the guy that loses his career is over or he's retiring or he's never fighting again. Look, those fights are still big. It doesn't. You don't have to fight the winner. You could fight if it's a good competitive fight. You could fight the guy that loses, and it's still going to be a big fight. I think with Fundora, the way they're bringing him up, and the way he's already headlining, and his style, people want to see him. People want to see what happens in his fights. How somebody's going to figure him out. Because lately, nobody can. It's tough.
No, he really has gotten so much better. I mean, he's becoming an all-around fighter. And to your point, these guys are also young. So a loss is not the end of a career. Fundora has a loss, a bad one. He got knocked out by
Exactly. He
Brian
got knocked
Mendoza.
out.
He's got a look where he is now. So these young fighters who are willing to take these risks. We're in a different era. I think the have to have an O at the back of your record is over. And the Floyd Mayweather era where you have to be undefeated. I don't think guys need to be undefeated anymore. We want to see these young fighters fight each other, and we're seeing more often that they are. And you can recover from losses. It's everybody loses at some point except for Floyd and Andre Ward and Rocky Marciano. and everybody else has to fight. I like these young guys fighting and taking these risks. So whoever steps in with Fundora next, like you said, Coach, it could be either one of these guys, and maybe down the line, we'll all be tuned in because this is a prime weight class. Let's see what else we got from last show's comments. Zeusful says, why do they keep saying that Xander is bigger than Boots? They the same height with the same reach and both fight at 154. So how is Xander bigger? Can someone explain this logic? Robert, take it away.
Well, look, in boxing, he is bigger
Yes.
because he's the one that's been fighting at 154 the longest time. He has that he's felt that division better with stronger guys. Yeah, they could be the same height, they could have the same reach, but the bigger man is Xander Zayas. Boots is moving up. He's the one that could carry the weight just in water. Sometimes sometimes the fighter belongs at a weight division where he doesn't want to cut because he just wants to eat more and drink more water before maybe they don't want to cut weight the way fighters normally do. So when the bell rings, when they both step into the ring and the bell rings, they're both gonna make weight. But when the bell rings, Sanders gonna be the way bigger guy, the heavier. He's probably gonna have 10 pounds over Boots, so he is the bigger man. When it comes to boxing, that makes a big difference.
And from a sports science standpoint, I worked as a nutritionist for fighters for over 10 years, and I've worked with so many different types. Body type matters. The muscle fiber type matters. So in terms of how much weight guys put on between fights, between the scale and when they fight is very different. Some guys can really pack it on, some guys don't. I've seen it all across the board, and I've been around both these guys. I've been in the ring with Xander. Haven't been in the ring with Boots, but I've been shoulder to shoulder with him. He's eye to eye with me. Xander, I don't know. I know they're listed the same height. I think Xander's a little bit taller, but Xander's he's a big guy. He gets very heavy in between fights. Still makes the weight. Obviously, has a ton of discipline. But I think we've seen when they've been face to face, Xander's the bigger guy. And on fight night, he's going to rehydrate. He has a great team that we've seen that time and time again. So it's going to be interesting to see. That's why I'm so curious about seeing them at the weigh-in. I want to see what they would look like physically, because the guys that are going to be at the scale and the guys who are going to be in the ring are going to look like different people. So
And the thing that I'm also excited about and I'm waiting for is how much they're gonna weigh. I don't know if New York weighs them walking into the arena, but I would want to know how much Sandro weighs, but
mhm.
I want to see how much Boots also gained, because if they weigh about the same, and because Boots went heavy, then that might be a little bit of a problem for Boots, because he's fast, he's got good footwork. Gaining too much weight might affect him. I'm also looking forward to see how much he could gain, because he's got the footwork, he's got the speed, he's got the agility to work his combinations, but that might slow him down if he gains too much weight. So I kind of want to see that too.
That's a great point. That's what I meant about body types and muscle fiber types. Boots is one of those guys who's got that fluidity and athleticism. More weight isn't necessarily better. But
Correct.
let's see what else we got from the comments. Stay Ready Sports Inc. says Liam Paro is a new player in the 147-pound division with the IBF strap. Him versus Haney. Now, we talked about this a little bit because Hitchinson is a guy who beat Liam Paro at 140 to win the IBF strap. He's number 4 in IBF. He's calling him out. There's a path for that. But really, I mean, I think that Liam will have not a mandatory. He'll have an optional defense, depending on where he wants to go with that. Does he want to go into one of those fights with a guy like Devin Haney? I mean, it's a big money fight. I think that would be smart. But he also has, I believe, Patty Donovan is the mandatory that is going to be in weight. But also, we could see a Crocker rematch. So I think there might be a lot of steps before Devin Haney. I haven't seen him really mentioned with Devin. Devin always gets mentioned with top flight guys about, the Tanks, the Ryans, the Shakur Stevensons, the Conor Benns. Where do you see Liam Paro falling in this new crop of 147 pounders?
Now that he's a champion and he's got a name for himself, I think he's gonna mix in with all the top 47 pounders. I think they could really do good promotion and big fights for him. I would like to see him, compete against the Haneys, the Rowleys, Ryans. I think he's in the mix now because of his name. He's building his name. He's got a country behind him also. So that brings a lot of attention also for the other fighters where they know the money's going to be there, the money's going to be right. Wherever they fight, if or maybe any of the other champions will take the chance to go to his country and fight. You know what I mean? So that makes a big difference. So I think Liam Paro's in the mix. The IPF does, force them to do their mandatories the way that they should. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. His voluntary tower defense, he could pick something comfortable if he wants, but he might not want that. He might want to go straight into a Haney fight or something big. I think Hitchkins is there to challenge him also. He's got the talent, the skills, but I think right now, smart move for Liam Paro is to maybe do a voluntary tower defense or go straight into the big fight, the big Haney fight, where the money's right, and it's a fight that he could actually win.
Haney has gone to Australia already. He beat George Kambosos there to take that title. So there's that. But also there is that IBF plus 10 pound, which a lot of guys are saying they don't want to do that.
Do it.
Yeah,
but
Devin, I believe one of them.
When it's a unification, that doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
So if it's a unification, they don't have to do that 10-pound difference.
Great point. That's a great point. So yeah, Haney's been there before, and that's a huge.
Yes.
You mentioned there's a country behind him. It's a market. Australia is its own market. They do fantastic shows. Their crowds come out. 20, 30,000 is not unheard of there at all. And Liam, I believe, is a legitimate star over there. So there's a lot of power in that. I'm being told we got room for one more comment from yesterday's show. Smack 2 Trappy. Do you think Benavidez will become undisputed before fighting Jai Opetaia and have all the belts but not the ring belt? I mean, it's very possible. That seems like the move that they're going for, Benavidez. He says he wants all the straps. Right now, Opetaia essentially only has the Zuffa and the ring belt because he has been stripped by the IBF. WBC is looking to make Benavidez and Michelion. So there's room for Benavidez to go pick up all these belts and then make a mega showdown with Jai Opetaia. Robert, how do you feel about David at cruiser?
I was hoping to see David versus the light heavyweights. What's the names?
Bivol.
Bivol.
Yeah, me too.
But I don't. I don't.
Seems like we're moving away from that.
I don't think that's the plan exactly.
Yeah.
So now he's looking forward to becoming undisputed. Maybe the names are not as big, or maybe the name, but just being undisputed at cruiserweight would be huge, and then eventually move up to heavyweight. I think that's where Benavidez is going. But he's doing it smart also. He doesn't want to jump into something that he might not be ready yet. 2-3 more fights for him to become undisputed and then go to heavyweight. We're talking a year and a half. We're not talking like we're gonna have to wait 5 more years. He's young enough to wait 5 years, but maybe the top heavyweight champions will not. So I think within a year and a half, 2 years max, we're gonna see Benavidez at super heavyweight competing against the top ones because he's that good, and I think he will be able to compete, man. We've seen a lot of superstars, a lot of big names that dominating heavyweight, but they were also cruiserweight champions. So I think he could be one of those.
Yeah, I agree. I think the sky's the limit for David. I think he really can be a star in this sport. And I think a couple more fights at cruiserweight is probably a good thing. He can grow into that weight class because Jai's big. And Jai started here. It's David started at 168, and he's coming up multiple weight classes to be a cruiserweight, and cruiserweight 200 pounds is they're basically heavyweights at that point. And Jai is a big, athletic, strong cruiserweight. So a couple more fights for David Benavidez there, I think, is a good thing. You got Chris Bealham Smith just got a good win on Zuffa, so I feel like we're going to see him fight Opataya soon, which gives more time for this fight to marinate and for David to try and pick up those titles and make that mega showdown down the line. But now we talked about all things boxing here, good, bad, and everything in between. But also we do fights. Probox TV, we got a fight coming up. Robert, I know you're excited about this card. July the 18th, Brian Flores versus Jonathan Navarro in the main event with a great co-main. Joshua Anton versus Vladimir Hernandez, who's always upset-minded, that Hernandez, man. He comes and he brings it. And then we got Ruben Aguilar. He's someone that we all have our eyes on in a very, very tough matchup against Trayshawn Wiggins, super experienced guy who's been in tough his entire career. And we rounded out with the ladies, who have a world title fight, WBC World Super Flyweight title. The champion is Adelaida Ruiz fighting Jeannie Fuchs. That's a good fight there. So this is a top to bottom good card. Robert, right in San Bernardino, right around the corner from you. So if you guys want to come check out some good fight action on Probox TV, check us out. If you're in the area, come watch us live. Otherwise, watch us on the Probox TV YouTube channel.